Dubbed the last barrier in athletics,
I want to tell the world that no human is limited.
there recently been a concerted effort to break 2 hours for the marathon, with Nike's failed breaking 2 in Monza, Team Ineos' attempt this weekend in Vienna, and Adidas's sub-2 attempt coming soon. We look at the science behind the attempt. The marathon, 26.2 miles, based on the legend of the Athenians and Plataeans marched to Athens after the Battle of Marathon. The marathon was originally seen as the ultimate test in human endurance. It has also seen the greatest drop in world record performance in the last 100 years.
The winner of the 2012 Olympic Marathon ran 2 hours and 8 minutes. Had he been racing against the winner of the 1904 Olympic Marathon, he would have won by nearly an hour and a half.
In 1991, Michael Joyner published a paper predicting the theoretical limits of marathon running in the perfect conditions. He predicted a 1:57.58 by 2050. This inspired many companies in the 21st century to attempt to break the 2-hour barrier.
The three things that determine distance running performance are VO2 max or maximal oxygen uptake, lactate threshold, and running economy or efficiency.
VO2 max is the maximum uptake of oxygen in a given increment of time that the body can utilize. The average trained male's VO2 max is normally between 40 and 50 milliliters per kilogram, whilst elite males can normally reach up to 70 or 80 milliliters per kilogram. Although lactate can be used as part of an energy system, this in theory impedes runners' ability and therefore is vital to develop tolerance to lactate. Lactate indicates to us how much stress the muscle is under. The more lactate you are producing, the harder the muscle is pushing.
The number of mitochondria in your skeletal muscle and the number of capillaries around each skeletal muscle go way up. This permits people to start to work at 70, 80, even 85 or 90% of their max.
The greatest area for improvement is running economy, as we know very little about it compared to VO2 max and lactate threshold. Running economy is defined as the energy demand for a given velocity of sub-maximal running, or in other words, how efficient you are at utilizing energy. The least amount of energy you can waste, the better your economy is. There are many ways to decrease energy use and become more efficient, such as having compact, loose arms. As demonstrated by Ian Hunter, there is no one correct way for foot striking the ground. However, there are some universal truths when it comes to foot striking when running. Landing on the heels effectively acts as a brake unless the foot is rolled right through to the toes. Foot must remain dorsiflexed upon landing, with slight eversion. This helps us to prevent slapping or stomping the ground, which not only can create injuries, but also utilizes far too much energy and is inefficient. This is also the area most sensitive to technical advancement. Nike have developed a shoe that has utilized lightweight material, responsive stringy materials, and also a carbon fiber plate in order to improve economy by 4%. So what new sciences are these companies utilizing? The current world record is 2 hours 1:39. In Monza, he achieved 2 hours and 25 seconds. Not an official world record, as it wasn't part of an officially sanctioned race and utilised illegal forms of pacemaking.
Eliud Broke loves the big crowd. He is the champion.
In order to go sub-2, we need to take 7 seconds per mile off the speed that the current world record was run at.
We're asking the athletes to cover 26.2 miles in 2 hours. That's 4 minutes and 34 seconds per mile.
Believe it or not, it is very hard to get elite athletes to make massive jumps in performance. What can be done is the theory of marginal gain, focusing on minutiae in order to improve the performance of the whole. Alongside the traditional sports sciences of nutrition, psychology, physiology and biomechanics, Bio-informatics also utilised in order to find loci information that may help with marginal gains in performance. Endurance runners perform best in moderate conditions. This is because it prevents overheating. Fewer pollutants also help with breathing. This is the reason why an electric car was chosen.
We're working through our start process. We have 2 pace cars that are specifically engineered to control a speed profile very specifically, throw a laser, and ultimately guide the pacers into their drafting formation. So it's a learning process, but the best way to learn a new skill is to get some instruction, practice, gain some feedback, and do it again.
For a course to be quick, it needs to be relatively flat with very few sharp turns. Ineos's course in Vienna is a straight line with only a 2-meter gradient. With turns, they sap energy, as you either have to slow down or take a wider route round the bend. This also happens with an undulating course, and therefore a flat course is favourable. Out of all the classics, Berlin is the fastest because it also is the flattest course. On average, elite times are 81 seconds faster in Berlin, and resultantly, the vast majority of the previous world records are from the Berlin Marathon.
See that pace car at the front there that is being precision driven. The manner in which they switched in and out is perfect. It's like they're running as one unit.
Pacemakers act as a shield and generate positive drag, allowing the runners in the centre to be effectively running in clean air and also have a certain amount of assist. Slipstreaming, you are able to exert 4% less energy. By slipstreaming, you are protected from wind and other environmental conditions. It is possible to preserve up to 80% of energy that would otherwise be utilised fighting wind resistance. For pacemakers, it is best to interchange the pacemakers in order to keep them fresh. For Breaking 2, a series of formations were tested, and it was discovered that an arrowhead formation was best. In Ineos 159 Challenge, they utilise an inverted arrow or an X formation. But how much is the pace car actually helping? It is debatable whether the pace car actually helps with performance. However, there is a drag effect upon the runners. For instance, it may either be a negative or a positive for having the car there. In total, the athletes save between 2 to 4 minutes with pacers and the car, with the car itself equating anywhere between 13 to 26 seconds. However, the cars do not have natural acceleration, and cruise controls are not accurate enough in order to break the 2-hour barrier. Therefore, a driver is needed in order to allow for a natural acceleration. Innovation was the utilisation of bikes, both to look at the athlete's form up close and more interpersonally, but also for the transfer of vital energies and hydration. This is far quicker to administer via bike on the run than what it is from a table or a station. It is best for the athlete to eat and drink little and often during race day. Pre-race day, the athlete will go through a carb loading phase. The athlete will go through a period of low carbohydrate intake before a couple of days before the race going for a period of high carbohydrate intake. This is so to maximise storage of glycogen both in the liver and in the bloodstream. Of course, a certain amount of mental and physical training can inhibit the feelings of fatigue and push our bodies further. The body has natural mental inhibitors that are in place to help keep us alive. However, these are at times conservative limits. These can be trained though through mental training or by artificial means like transdirectional cranial stimulation, or stimming to give it street name. This method has been shown to improve endurance performance by 20%. That is like winning the 2016 Olympic marathon by half an hour to the nearest competitor.
So beyond doing the warm-ups and putting miles under the belt, what kind of training is needed to run a sub-2 marathon? Nike were particularly interested in making sure their athletes were able to work through lactic acid and tolerate it better, which will become more prevalent when working harder towards the marathon pacing. One way to potentially achieve this is the utilisation of a ramp test.
The first one is very slow, but they'll gradually build in speed until the last 2 or 3 will be quite hard.
Also, the athletes need to be able to run at marathon paces within intervals, and running at 13.2 miles per hour over and over again consecutively.
What we want to see out of Xerxene between now and May is more distance work. We know he's fast enough, he can run at these speeds, he needs to be able to run at them for longer.
But with only 4% of male marathon runners getting under the 3-hour barrier, what genetics does one need to be able to run a sub-2 marathon?
Africa,
Many of the world's best marathon runners are from sub-Saharan Africa. Excluding the athletic tradition, mainly around running, many sub-Saharan Africans, but not all populations, live at high altitude, which can affect or improve VO2 max down at sea level. They also have unique adaptations that help with running economy.
But we think of Kenyans as being great marathoners. Kenyans think of the Kalenjin tribe as being great marathoners. The Kalenjin make up just 12% of the Kenyan population, but the vast majority of elite runners. And they happen on average to have a certain unique physiology. Legs that are very long and very thin at their extremity. This is because they have their ancestry at very low latitude in a very hot and dry climate. And because the leg is like a pendulum, the longer and thinner it is at the extremity, the more energy efficient it is to swing. To put Kalenjin running success in perspective, consider that 17 American men in history have run faster than 2 hours and 10 minutes in the marathon. That's a 4 minute and 58 second per mile pace. 32 Kalenjin men did that last October.
So what is next for the men's marathon? Well, the marathon in Vienna was heavily assisted and therefore does not count as a world record. So doing it unassisted and getting under the 2-hour barrier will probably be the next target. The day after Eliud's fantastic achievement, Bridget Kosgei broke the women's world record with 2 hours and 14 minutes. Maybe women could get under the 2-hour barrier.